So I've pinned up my fabric, and now what I'm doing is I'm placing old business cards on top of my fabric. I'm using these cards as stencils. What I basically want is to have little squares appearing all over my fabric once I've sprayed a dye on top of them. So there we go, I'm getting there. I now take my bottle of dye, which is a turquoise, and pump it and start spraying. Here we go, I take the cards off and you can see I've got exactly what I wanted, which are little white squares all over my cloth. I now start drawing a design on top of my fabric, and I'm being very free and very easy about it. I haven't thought about what I'm doing, except that I want to protect quite a bit of the white and blue areas that I'm drawing on top of. Okay, so I'm now going to be waxing everywhere that I've drawn. I'm using a brush at the moment because it's nice and quick, and I'm just waxing in between my pencil lines. I love doing this, I've said this so many times before, but it's so soothing. You forget that you're going in and out of the wax constantly because one is just so absorbed in the task at hand. And any worries, any fears, any questions in our head, the talking in our head, the chatter in our head, well, in my head, just dissipates as I do the process of applying wax to my fabric. Utter joy. Okay, so now I'm nearly finished doing my waxing. Getting there. It's nice seeing the shapes that I've drawn coming to life. You can see them far more clearly now the wax is on them. Nearly done. My next task is to put on a pink dye. There we go. Everywhere I put pink turns the white to pink and the blue to purple. And I'm choosing carefully the sections that I wish to put my dye onto. The barrier of wax is stopping the pink running anywhere else on the cloth. There we go. Now I put a lemon dye, or yellow if you wish to call it that, on the remaining open fabric. The white and blue areas now change to yellow and a pale green. I have to be very careful because my sponge is quite big and I don't want to drop any of that yellow dye onto my pink, or else it will turn it orange, and I'm not ready for that yet. Okay, all done. I take off excess dye. Okay, now the dye is dry, I'm drawing another design on top of my fabric. This time I'm going to be protecting the yellow-green areas and the pink-purple areas. I'm not thinking, again I'm just making marks, but this time the marks are dictated by the colours, by the shapes that are already there, and I suppose by how I'm feeling. And here we go, out comes my big bowl. I have a huge bowl in the studio which is really useful for doing circular shapes. I can hear you thinking, why doesn't she use a compass? But the thing is, the fabric is soft and the pointy end of the compass goes through it. So I kind of can't. Anyway, there's your answer. And on I go, just randomly putting marks and designs where I feel they should go. And we'll see later whether I got it right or not. Okay, so my design is now drawn and I'm going to be waxing it. This time I'm choosing to use my junting. Sometimes I prefer using a junting. One of the reasons I prefer using a junting is that the wax stays hotter for longer because the metal bowl keeps the wax hot. Also, as you can see with this particular area I'm waxing, it's quite fiddly-idly and I would not be able to do this easily with a brush. So the perfect tool is the junting. And on I go. Later, as you will see, I will fill in the areas, the bigger areas around my wax lines with a brush. This is equally as enjoyable, as you know, I like doing it. but it's for bigger areas, not for all the detailed little bits. So I'm now speeding up this waxing process because I don't suspect you want to watch me waxing forever. Now my design is waxed, I'm painting on a stronger pink, and you can see the lighter pink waxed areas peeking through. I do the same on the other area, very carefully, because as I said before, I don't want this colour to end up anywhere else than where I've decided it should go. And I now paint on a stronger yellow, I would actually call this an orange now, on top of the other open area. And again, my yellow waxed areas peek through. So I'm beginning to see a much fuller, richer design now, slowly developing. Okay, now the dyes are dry, I'm drawing another design on top of them. I'm using a chalk and I'm using pencil, and again I'm not thinking too much, I'm not angsting over the marks I make. I'm just looking at what's there and filling the spaces in a way that I feel is going to work. You never know, but I don't overthink things. I have a kind of sense, an intuitive sense of what to do. That's probably because I've been an abstract artist for many years. I'm now waxing segments of this circle with a junting. That's because these little triangular shapes are pointy, obviously, at the end, and a brush just wouldn't cut it for this. So I go round my pencil lines with the junting first, and then I put on the wax with a brush. This whole design, this layer of design, I am going to be doing in stages, whereas the last designs I drew, waxed, and then I put dye on. This one I'm drawing, waxing all the way through, because I can't make big decisions. My instinct with this is just to do little areas at a time and then do another area, because I haven't got a picture in my mind of where I'm going until the point arises. So as you can see, I'm now drawing again, and then I'll wax this area. I'm going to speed everything up now, or else you're going to get bored silly, and I don't want to lose your attention. And here we go, waxing, drawing, until finally it's all done. Okie dokie, I now apply my darkest pink. There we go. I apply it on the other side as well. You knew I was going to do that, didn't you? And now I apply a strong red for the middle area. Getting there, and done. Now this dye is dry, I draw again the areas I wish to wax. This time I'm using a chalk. A pencil would never show on these dark shades. So nearly done, and I'm going to speed everything up. Okay, now my penultimate colour. It's a very, very strong pink, which turns the reddy orange to a darker shade and the pink to an even darker pink. This batik is full of layers. I started and completed it last Sunday. It took me probably 6 hours, maybe more, of consistent working, the odd coffee break in between, maybe the odd cake and biscuit too. But it was a labour of love. We're nearly at the final stage. Excess dye is taken off with a paper towel. When the fabric is dry, I then draw again, and then I do my final waxing before my last shade of dye. And now, finally, my black is applied, and you can see it's appearing as a key line on my artwork. I take off the excess dye with paper towel, there we go, and my next task is to iron out the wax. Paper absorbs the hot wax, and I keep changing it until the paper remains clean. And here it is, my final batik. I hope you liked it. I loved creating it for you.